Hey everybody, it's Michelle. I am here to talk to you about our Patreon page. This is the page that you can go to help support our podcast with a monthly donation. When you commit to supporting us, you can get additional bonus content such as extra podcasts, our favorite playlists, our show notes, and eventually we would like to have merchandise to sell like t-shirts and baseball caps, and we would let you have first dibs at those. Of course, because we are coffee moms, we are offering membership levels that are as follows: the coffee membership, the cold brew membership, or the espresso membership. Now, no pressure whatsoever, but if you do love our podcast and you would like to help support it, you can go to patreon.com/messybunmamaspodcast. That is Patreon, patreon.com/messybunmamaspodcast. There you can choose a membership level that works for you. Melissa and I want to thank you in advance for your love and your support.
Messy Bun Mamas. I'm Joe. I'm John. I am Malcolm. Wow.
Hello.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome to the Messy Bun Mamas podcast. I'm Melissa.
And I'm Michelle.
And today we are talking about how to handle it when your kid says that they don't feel like you love them.
Don't cry.
I have such feels about this topic.
Yes.
So before we get into that, though, my moment of the week.
My moment of the week.
Why don't you go first?
Okay. So my moment of the week was we had gone to the ladies' retreat, and as I had stated in last week's mom moment, you kind of have that worry of do they really miss me? And so we were cuddled up in bed a few days later, and Joe said to me, he said, "Mommy, I really love you." I said, "Well, I really love you, Joe." Then he said, and I quote, "Mom, I don't want to do bad things with Daddy anymore. I just want you to be here so we can do good things together, okay?"
What does that mean?
Right. So I was like, I'm kind of questioning what happened over this weekend. But he said to me, me and Daddy, we just did bad things. And he starts telling me, basically it goes back to what I had talked about last week, and that Daddy didn't do things the same way that Mommy did. So it was just another confirmation on top of the other stuff that, yay, Mommy is still needed in this house. But it was so cute the way he delivered the message. He's like, I'm over Dad and his naughtiness.
He doesn't feed me the same way.
Right. He doesn't, he made me eat cereal because I don't fight him in the morning. Like, I will say, these are your options for breakfast. Mm-hmm. You choose one of them. Like, if he wants pancakes, I'll make him pancakes. If he wants cereal, I'll give him cereal. He wants a granola bar, he gets a granola bar.
Yeah.
I do not. And Dan's like, you need to make sure he eats cereal or pancakes. So granola bar is not sufficient. Like, look, at 7 a.m. in the morning, I'm not about the life of shoving food into my kid's mouth.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, sometimes my kids will eat a banana and then they're not hungry.
Yeah.
So it's just like
whatever. So yeah. But no, it was just kind of, it made me feel special again. I was just like, oh. Because, and I said this to Dan yesterday, I said, did Joe ask for me at all when I was gone? And he said, no, not one time. He said, even when he woke up in the morning, he would call out for me. It's like he knew you were gone. And because every day, Melissa, every day. Dan goes to work. Dan gives us a kiss, says, I'm going to work. Goodbye. Joe gives him a kiss back, says goodbye. I'm teaching him to say, have a good day at work. So he'll say that to his dad. And I'm not kidding. 10 minutes later, he'll say, hey, Mom, where's Dad? I said to Dan, I said, every day he says that. So I was just curious if he missed me that like 10 minutes later, he misses you. But very obviously from the conversations that we've had, he misses the structure, even though he fights me on it. He misses the structure I bring. So.
Well, if there was any question as to whether or not you were going to continue having structure.
Right. Like,
no.
Right.
It's going to stay.
It's going to stay forever.
Right.
So, no, it was just, I don't know. Boys have such a way of delivering messages. Like, I think, I don't know if you said it on the podcast or not, but you were saying when Mike was prepping the kids that you were going to be gone for several days. And John was like, I need to get all my bot time in. I mean, just, there's nothing like hearing a boy say that to you. It's like,
I love when boys are smushy.
Yes.
Just makes my world.
And then 5 minutes later, they body slam you.
Right. True.
So, I think that's why it makes those moments special.
Right.
So tell me about your mom moment.
Okay, so my mom moment is Malcolm. Now, this is funny because Malcolm has gotten awards in Sunday school for being such a good helper and such a good cleaner-upper. However, at home, this is not the case.
It's always the situation, though.
Malcolm, pick up the living room. It's so hard.
Right.
I can't do it.
Can you help me, Mom?
I'm so little. This is such a big mess. Puts 3 items in there. Oh, I'm so tired. This is so hard.
How dare you make your kid do chores? He just wants to be a little boy.
So last night, we kind of discussed like the different avenues I've gone down to try and teach them. Like, you need to pick up your things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I hate when they're just like, I didn't bring it out. I'm just like,
oh my God.
Did I ask you that question?
Just pick it up.
I just told you to put it away.
Right.
I mean, how accountable do you want me to hold your little sister?
Right.
So last night I was just like, you need to pick up your toys. And he was just like, it's so hard. And I was just like, I don't care. You're picking up the toys. And he actually, I would say, cleaned like 80% of the toys up with very minimal complaints.
Isn't that amazing?
So, there has been extensive progress made in the pickup process. So, like, I'll take that all day.
Right. I think part of that complaining, though, is just that they're hoping to wear us down and be like, whatever, just go away and I'll do it.
Yes, absolutely.
Because Joe is very much will you come help me? No, I will not. You were able to pull all of that down and make that mess. So, no, I cannot help you.
Well, and I'm still under the belief that, like, I'll set 5-minute timers and I'll say, like, you boys have 5 minutes to clean up this living room. Anything that's not cleaned up will go in the garbage.
It's going to go in the trash.
5 minutes goes out. I will grab a garbage bag, go in there, start throwing things in the garbage. I don't throw everything. Like, I'll throw away like 5 things. And then it gets them all revved up. And I'm like, I'm setting another timer. You better get your button gear. So then, like, it's a little bit more encouraged. But, like, even just, like, they'll take off their socks and leave them in the living room. And I'm just like, where socks go.
Yes.
Pick up the socks and put them in the dirty clothes. Like,
I will say that it's very funny to me because when we pick up the living room and stuff, when Joe was little, I gave him the job of, because he was little, you pick up daddy's socks and go and put them in the hamper. And so, like, now he'll actually lecture his dad. This is not where your socks go, Dad. So you tell him, Joe. I just want to side note that our friend Rochelle has a very funny story about telling her son that she was going to throw away his toys if he didn't start picking them up. He sat down and said, do it.
So did she throw the toys away?
She did not. I don't think she did. I would have.
that.
See, like, somebody meets me with a challenge like that. it's all going in the trash now.
That's what I would have done.
Because even Joe and I will have the discussion where he'll say, I don't want to go play with my toys. I want to play a game, or I want to watch TV. And go play with your toys. You have a whole bedroom full of toys. And I don't want to. They're boring. And I'll look at him and I guess I'm going to go in there and throw them all away.
See, if my kid sat on the ground and was like, do it.
I would, yeah.
I don't think I could move. This chubby girl would be running and grabbing a garbage bag and throwing all of them away. All of them.
Even after the tears, because at that point, you want to challenge me?
Nope.
Bring it on, little boy. I mean,
listen, this is not how we play here.
Right? I may be wrong, but I think she said that she did not. But maybe I'm wrong. Now I'm starting to second guess myself. But I think she said she didn't do it. She was just like, the kid challenged her. And I'm like, man, I think I would have thrown it all out, and then made him walk with me as I walked it out to the trash can.
Right.
So, but yeah, it's just a funny story off of your mom moment.
All right, so let's get into our topic for today.
Yay!
So I'm going to go through the article that I found that I really liked. So this article, we'll have a link to it in our show notes for our Patreon members.
You can be one.
Yeah. So the first thing the scenario that I want to go through is like your kid basically says to you, like, not in the heat of the moment, like he's angry, like, you don't love me, but just either they tell someone else or tell you, like, I don't feel like you love me, Okay, so that sort of scenario. Okay, so the first thing that you should do is ask questions. Don't assume you know why they feel the way they do. Use questions like, why do you feel that way? Or what makes you think that are good ways to get an idea of what they're focusing on. Let your children, in their own words, describe what they are feeling, seeing, or hearing without interrupting them. Number 2 is to acknowledge whether or not this is an emotional outburst. Kids aren't always great at regulating their emotions. For example, could they not handle losing? Do they not, want to deal with the consequences of throwing a fit? Is this a manipulation move? Maybe they don't know that they're being manipulative, but kids can be quite smart about playing on your feelings. Does your child want something or feel like a decision you made prevents them from doing something they wanted to do? Reflect. If you hear this from your child, reflect on how was today.
Don't just shut it down. Yeah.
How was the last week or two? Have you been stretching yourself thin and losing your temper? Have you been spending more time with one child over the other? Have you accidentally left your child out? How has your tone been around your children? It's easy to go through the day not thinking much about your words or actions when you're trying to get things done. Take a moment to see if you've been careless with your words or have been acting distant because of all the stuff going on. If you feel you've done something wrong, apologize. It can be really hard to apologize as a parent, but if it's warranted, do it. No bribing. Know that this isn't something to quote-unquote fix with bribery. Don't accidentally turn this into a regular guilt trip. You don't want to teach your children to play on your emotions just to get new toys, extra junk food, or an expensive outing.
Yes.
And then when you're done talking to your kid about the situation, attempt to bring a smile to his or her face so it can be ended on a positive note. It's just as important to recognize that children's feelings can be hurt because something didn't go as they planned. When you know you hurt your children's feelings because you stuck to your guns over a rule that keeps your child safe and healthy, it's okay to remind them that is your job as a parent. Let them know it's okay to have feelings, but that they have to respect your decisions because you're looking out for their best interests. Communication is key. So we're going to take a short break. And then we'll come back. We can talk about my hot mess mothering. So you can realize why I wanted to talk about this. Hi, this is Melissa from the Messy Bun Mamas podcast, and I want to talk to you today about Anchor. This app, let me be real honest, is basically lifesaver. Um, I got the random idea, on a Tuesday that I wanted to try and hit up my mom friends and try and get a podcast going, and Anchor has made it so smooth. I downloaded this app, at 7 a.m. on a Saturday, got my plug and play microphone, and we were able to go in, record. We had a high quality recording, and it turned out great. And I didn't have to take any of the tutorials or anything like that. So, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's a safe and easy way to make a podcast. It's also free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. And Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and so many more platforms. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership, which is amazing. So I don't have to feel like a failure if nobody listens to me talk. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. For example, we just recorded our first episode, and I was already able to go in and remove something really stupid that I said. So, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. All right, welcome back. So, a couple of weeks ago, my wonderful 7-year-old started this campaign of telling all of the people in our life that he doesn't feel like I love him.
Oh my God. So it wasn't just you. He was telling other people.
No,
oh my
he
goodness.
was telling his dad. He told his godmother. He told his nana. So I had to have these very intense talks about, how I'm treating John that makes him feel this way. Which are warranted discussions, I feel like, in the moment of, like, if a child tells you that, like, you need to have a serious discussion. So, Mike was the first one to tell me, like, John feels like you don't love him. And I was just like, okay.
Because it's just coming from your husband, right? Right.
What? And like, okay, did you validate his feelings? Did you make a big deal out of it? So now he knows he can get an emotional response from you. Did you make a big deal about it?
Right.
What did you do? And he's just like, no, I just listened. He just says he feels like you don't love him and you treat him like garbage and blah, blah, blah.
Oh my God.
Okay. Whatever.
Right.
So I feel like you need to have a talk with your son so this doesn't harm your relationship.
That's a lot of drama for a 7-year-old.
Have you met John?
Yeah.
This is like exactly, it doesn't surprise me one bit. Okay, I'll have a discussion with my 7-year-old. All right. So having a discussion with my 7-year-old. He feels like I treat him like garbage. All right. Was
he able to provide like specific examples?
Oh, no, just wait.
Okay.
He feels like I don't love him. So a couple weeks ago, I was in my office working, and he hurt himself. And I was in a meeting, and he barges into my office crying because he hurt himself. And I'm like, go by your dad. Get out of here. I'm working. And if I loved him, I would have dropped whatever I was doing.
Even though technically if you were at work,
I wouldn't be here.
Right.
That's what I said. I was like, you have to pretend I'm not here.
Right.
Like, I'm not here. So, like, don't come in here wanting me to kiss your boo-boos because you were riding a cardboard box down the stairs and you ran into the wall. And I wasn't sympathetic about the fact that you were hurt because you're acting stupid.
You're making dumb boy decisions.
You're making poor decisions.
Right.
Bad decisions, bad consequences.
Right.
Okay, so I'm just like, I probably wasn't the best about like making him feel heard because I was just like, I mean, I can't comfort you while I'm working. I'm sorry.
Right.
Like if you cut off a finger and we're bleeding everywhere, like maybe I could like,
Right. Or if your finger were bent like completely the other way.
Broken bones, bloody, like, but I'm not going to kiss your boo-boo every time you get, like, no, I'm working.
Right.
So, what we ended up doing was I just, like, whatever, fine. Well, then he spent that weekend with his godmother. So he told his godmother, like, I don't feel like Bob loves me. So being a good godmother, you know, she wanted to talk to me about it.
Mhm.
And so we're sitting down, and because she just texted me, like, we need to talk about something. And I was like, okay, do you want to talk to just me? You want to talk to me and Mike? Because we, with our godparents, like, we encourage them to be, like, an extra parent. So
Sure.
I just don't want this to seem like she was overstepping her bounds, because
No.
that's for sure not.
I mean, you welcome them into the life of your
Exactly.
child. So.
Exactly. So, like, it's not inappropriate for her to be having this conversation
Right.
at all. So she sat me down and she's like, well, I just want to talk to you about, you know, what's going on with John, because he told me he feels like you don't love him. And I was just like, I'm like, listen, John's being emotionally manipulative and just trying to, like, get a reaction out of everybody. And she was, like, upset about it, like, you know, tears in her eyes, just like, he feels like you don't love him, like, whatever. And I'm just sitting there just like, I mean, I think he's just being dramatic. Like, this is just silliness, like, whatever. So we have this huge long conversation, you know, about I need to try or whatever, talk to him about it. Fine. So the next time I yell at him or something, he's like, you don't even love me. I'm like, bro, come here. And I looked at him and I was just like, I made him make eye contact with me. And I was just like, listen to me. I'm always going to love you, no matter what, no matter how, no matter when. But if you think that you saying this to me or to other people is going to make me not punish you, that's not what's going to happen.
Right.
So I'm sorry that you feel that way. It's not true.
Right.
You know, Ba loves you no matter what.
Right.
But
in fact, if I do punish you, it's probably because I do love you.
Right. Or you're annoying me.
Right.
Either way.
I'm trying to raise you to be a respectable person in our society. So
yeah. So then right before I went on my trip, Mike came downstairs and he was like, you need to talk to your son and work on your relationship, because you guys are going to have a bad relationship if this continues. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, he said that you yelled at him and threw his food on the floor and called him a name. Now, I'm not even going to tell you the name because it's a swear word, which, if you know me, like, I don't swear. If I swear 5 times a year, that's a lot.
right.
Like, I'm not a swearer. So I was just like, really? Like, you think that came out of my mouth? He's like, I'm not down here. I'm just letting you know what he said. And I was just like, and what did you say to him when he said that?
Right.
Because now we're at the point where he's making things up that are extreme, I feel like, to get a reaction
attention,
and to get attention. So Mike, like, went to the store or the gas station. I don't know where he went. And, like, I called John by me, and I was just like, I looked at him and I was like, did you tell Daddy that I did this and I said this? And he's just like, no. And I was like, so you're calling Daddy a liar? And he's like, no, he just must have misheard me. And I'm just like,
oh my God, he's gaslighting already.
And I'm just like, all right. So when Daddy comes home, we'll see how Daddy got this miscommunication, because Daddy was pretty clear that this is what you said. And he's like, okay, I did say it. And I'm just like, all right, so you realize that you're lying.
Right.
I was like, why?
You've lied twice now.
Yeah. So why are you making up stories about this? And he's just like, well, I just don't feel like you love me. I'm like, no. I'm like, listen, if you continue to do this, you will be grounded.
Okay.
I'm not, like, this is not the way that you're not to lie about these situations.
Right.
And when Daddy comes home, wherever Daddy is, you're going to tell him that you lied. So we did that. And then Mike actually grounded John for the rest of the night, which grounded is like he has to go to his room and tinker around in there.
Right.
Like, it's not like
it's right.
He's 7.
It's not prison time, right?
No. And it was like, it's like 2 hours.
Right.
It's not a huge deal. So Mike and I were talking about it, and he's like, well, what are we going to do? And I was like, I think you guys have to stop reacting when he says these things, because you all act like it's such a big deal, and he gets so much like emotionally charged, individualized attention that he's just like, all right, so this
They have to push back and ask questions, and then
yeah. So ever since I called him out on lying and that whole situation happened, he actually hasn't done it since.
Okay.
I will say that it's really hard as a mom to hear that your child is saying, like, I just don't feel like you love me.
Right.
Like,
right.
Horrible.
Right.
I don't know if I can describe a worse feeling.
Right.
However, I think that this article actually did a really good job of saying, like, very rarely is the child feeling unloved.
Right.
Usually it's like they're not getting their way. It's just a way for them to like clap back at you or whatever.
To garner attention from other people.
Yeah. I don't have any time for that. So now, like, what I should have done with his godmother is say before he went with her, just, you know, he's telling everybody he feels like I don't love him.
Right.
So if he brings it up,
so that
you need
she'd
to
be prepped.
So she'd be prepped.
Yeah.
And I did apologize to her. I was like, I'm sorry. I should have warned you, because
it's not something you think of, though. It's like, it's not like telling you them. Sometimes they use a diaper and sometimes they don't. It's
exhausting, to be honest with you. John is like, I think he's gonna grow up into like a fantastic adult. He's gonna be like such a unique individual. But raising him is hard.
It's so hard.
Because it's hard for me to put myself in his shoes and to even think about things in the same way that he thinks about them. Because I'm just like...
He is very emotional. He's very connected to his emotions. And I understand that. So
I do not.
I mean, there's part of me that really hates like drama and stuff, but then there's this other part of me that like recognize, because I'm a very emotional person, so
yeah,
I recognize that stuff.
Well, and I think if it was just that, you know, he was being dramatic with me, I don't know that I would really care as much, but a big part of it is just that he brings things outside of our house, and we're not the people who are just like, don't spread your dirty laundry.
Right.
Like, we're not those type of people, but it's just like, bro.
Right. We already discussed this.
So like, it's come down to the fact where like, if you're gonna lie about what happens at home when you go to Tita Lee's house, then you're just not gonna go to Tita Lee's house for a while.
Right.
Because I'm not, I mean, and like I said before, like our godparents are treated as an extension of our parents. So I don't think that we would ever actually do that, but he needs to know like that he can't act this way.
There's a line.
Yeah. So, I think that if your like 27-year-old comes up to you and is like, I feel like you don't love me, that's probably a situation that you need to address. If your little kid comes up to you, even if they're doing it unintentionally, I just feel like it's almost like manipulation. So I think it's important as a mom to like not always react emotionally.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to feel like somebody has slapped you. Because that's how I felt. I felt like he slapped me.
Joe has yet to verbally say that to me. So I imagine I can't. I know I would be heartbroken.
Yeah. Well, and it's easy for me to say like, you're being dramatic. Like now after it's over and we talked about it and whatever. But like in the moment, it like broke my heart.
Right.
Because I was just like, how can he think that I don't love him? And then like, as I logically thought about it a little bit more, I was just like, okay, well, you know what I mean? And the thing is I'm not saying that I don't sometimes yell at the kids louder or harsher than they need to be yelled at. Right. I'm not saying that I don't like punish them for things that are like meh, or sometimes I don't have bad days and take it out on them. Like, for sure, all those things happen. But I think that as moms, if this does happen to you, fingers crossed it won't. That to just take a step back and kind of look at it with like clear eyes and clear emotions. Like, I'm glad that he said it to like his dad, so his dad like told me about it.
Right.
So I didn't necessarily have to like hear it for the first time from him, because I think maybe I would have reacted a little bit differently. But it was easy to assess it logically and then try and like talk to him about it. But I feel like if I would have had to address it emotionally in the moment, it would have been really hard.
Yeah, it would have been a hot mess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't disagree, because I know right now, even as a 4.5-year-old, Joe definitely uses his emotions to try to manipulate his dad and I. I mean, and so I'll even step back like sometimes, and I'll watch him, and I'm like, that's fake. And I'll do the same. I'll call him out. I'm like, you're not really crying.
Right.
You're just pouting because you're spoiled and you want your way and you think that that's going to control me, and it's not. And so but his dad will try to do the whole let's laugh it out, let's tickle, or blah blah. I'm like, no, you just tell him no. I'm not going to try to make you feel good about after we've had the discussion, we'll hug it out or whatever, but I'm not going to just try to distract you from
throwing a tantrum,
manipulating me with your tears. So he definitely does know the art of manipulation. So I think, and they do, they're testing their boundaries to see what they can get away with.
But I mean, Rayla's a month and a half of being away from being 2. And I mean, kids that age, she fake cries all day long. All day long she'll fake cry. And it's just like, ain't nobody got time for this. This is ridiculous.
No, like, the answer's still no.
Right?
Right. I'm not going to change my mind.
Yeah. And it's hard. It's hard on one hand just to like deal with, I don't know. It's still heartbreaking just to think about, because like my biggest fear in life is that my kids are going to grow up and think that I don't love them, like legitimately, not John throwing a fit about me thinking I don't love him,
but that he'll think that,
but like,
and separate his life from yours.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. That is my biggest fear. I mean, fingers crossed that never happens, but I don't think that me not dropping what I'm doing to comfort him after he falls down the stairs is quite the detrimental experience to cause that to happen.
Right.
But
I don't. It probably doesn't help that when he sees interactions between Joe and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry.
Probably not.
Probably not. He's like, see, but I have the opposite end of then, like, John knows the boundaries of leaving you alone during work time, where Joe is just like, here I am, whether you want me or not. Like, I can get nothing done. So I don't know. I if he is a 4, and it really does sound like maybe like an Enneagram 4, he'll learn. It sounds like he's just trying to vocalize, and that's a lot of how I get through things, is I have to talk to somebody about how something made me feel. Mm-hmm. And so it sounds like he's just trying, to me, it sounds like he's also trying to learn the art of like vocalizing when something is bothering him.
Right. Yeah.
He's just crossing it with a little, well, like you said, he probably got a reaction, and who doesn't follow up with something when you get the same reaction? I mean, it's just,
well, like, I'm the type of conversationalist. Like, if I say something to you and you're just like, I'll repeat it.
Right.
Like for emphasis.
Yeah.
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 It keeps driving you, right? Like, I'm
Uh-huh.
gonna keep cracking these jokes right now because you laughed at that one. So
Exactly.
yeah. I I don't know. I like I said, I totally am on board with saying that they know how to manipulate. And Joel, I think, is working himself up to that. Because as we had talked before we started recording, he doesn't say that I hate yous or anything like that yet. He's more into the if I've said, instead of crying now because I've called him out on it, instead, if I tell him no, he can't do something, he says things like, I hope a stink bug stinks on you. or just something in his little mind
That
that
is
thinks
like
is gonna
the worst.
hurt me,
Yeah.
so I can foresee it coming, and I'm kind of trying to steel myself against it, because I know in our relationship I am the bad cop. I am the one that has to say no to everything. So I'm trying to steel myself, because I know I will be super emotional the first time he says it, and I know he means it.
Yeah, he definitely means it in his little mind in the
Yeah,
moment.
he's like,
but yeah. And the reason I chose this article was because, like, it wasn't a scholarly article. It was written by like a mom, which I appreciated almost more, because it's like a lot of the scenarios, like, in the article that she was giving, I was like, same.
been there, done that. Yeah,
Exactly. Like, you tell your kid that they can't have candy before dinner because they were naughty today, but their brother gets to have candy, and they're just like, you hate me, you don't love me.
That's not the deal.
Well, you were kind of a douchebag today,
Right.
so you get no candy.
Right.
And we're gonna eat
Consequences,
this candy
right?
right in front of you because
Yeah.
you deserve it.
Right. And I know that some people are like, well, then they should go to another room while they enjoy it. No, I mean, that's not real life, right?
Right?
Like, if I do something wrong at a job and I don't get like the bonus pay that everybody else does because I didn't do what they did, I mean, they're all sitting there talking about what they're going to do with all their extra money, and I got to listen to
Right?
it. So,
I mean,
right? This is real life.
congratulations, you made it to life.
Right.
It sucks.
So, right.
Sorry.
Right. Well, it's about the consequences, right?
Yeah.
And because you're enduring a consequence doesn't mean that I can't enjoy the fruits of doing what I was supposed to do. So,
Exactly. Like, I'm not going to not go out to ice cream because you can't go.
right.
Because you did something wrong that caused you not to be able to get ice cream. So,
right. Yeah.
Sorry.
Right. Exactly. And so especially now that, because Joe is becoming more vocal and maturing, I am starting to like do a little bit of a heavier foot of like towing the line of, no, you talk to mommy really disrespectfully, so
you're not gonna get that.
You're not gonna have a sucker. And so yeah, I don't know. I am stealing myself because I know it's going to pain me, because he calls me his best friend right now. So it's going to pay me so much. We're going to have a therapy episode to talk me through my emotions. But
right, absolutely. All right, so let's go into our recommendations. Right. I'm gonna go first.
Okay, you go first.
Okay, I'm really excited about this one because I feel like it's a throwback, but they still have it around. So I don't know. Maybe all you old people will like feel some kindredness.
I already feel it.
So my recommendation this week is the Spirograph.
Yes, I feel it.
So I don't know if everybody knows this, but you can actually still get Spirographs.
Yes.
And they're not that expensive. I mean, as far as art kit goes, especially because you can use them forever.
I think it's under $20.
It is. Yeah. It's under $20. And you can use them forever because you just need paper and like a fine tip pen, marker, anything.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to use the paper that it comes with or anything.
No. You can just get computer paper.
Exactly. Exactly. So we brought out a Spirograph the other day. I got one at the thrift store. For like 99 cents. And I brought it out with John, and he was like ecstatic about it, which is, I mean, I used to love the Spectrograph when I was little because it just does like such cool designs and things, and
makes you feel artistic
I know,
without
it's
being
like, look how
artistic.
fancy I am, look how fancy and talented I can be. But yeah, I think that it's not a quote unquote like modern toy or art set because it's just really simple.
Right.
But like that's my recommendation this week because we had so much fun playing with
bet.
Spectrograph.
I imagine, I think you just said it, that John had really, I imagine he loved that.
Yeah.
He's a very artsy kid. So.
Yeah, he is.
That's amazing. I love that suggestion. So my suggestion is gardening. I know that Mike does a little garden with the kids, and we are super huge into gardening. I've not been out there as much just because I've really struggled with my allergies this year. But we're actually adding in more garden beds.
Really?
Yes, we are, because we're crazy.
Okay, so we're gonna take a picture of their backyard so you can see what
the ridiculous.
I am going, really?
Right. So like we really enjoy it. And up until this year, Joe has been kind of like about helping us. He was more into playing and stuff. But this year, he's really kind of getting more into stuff. And even like, I have worked so hard. I hate bugs and all things creepy crawly, but I would pick up like worms and hold other stuff that I would never dream of holding in my life because that's just gross, trying to get him to hold it. And he would not. But the other day when we came home from ladies retreat, we were outside and he was picking up a worm and a shovel and then putting it into his hand and saying, "Look, Mom, look." And so, I mean, he'll play in dirt, that's fine, but just to see him start to enjoy like the functions of the garden, like worms are important to your garden and dirt and everything. And but then he has also been helping his dad like paint the sides of the garden beds and just helping him fill the stuff with dirt and things like that. So it's just been a fun experience watching him kind of grow into doing those chores with us. So yeah, I highly recommend it. It's so fun to watch kids get into nature. I really enjoy it.
Well, and I think it's also important to get them involved in things that are life skills.
Yes.
Because gardening, like, I don't know how to garden. Like, we rented my entire life. You know, we never owned a house or anything, so we never really had a place that had a garden, except when I was, like, really little. So, like, I think the reason that I don't want a garden is because I don't even know where to start to have a garden. Also, it just seems like a lot of work, and I just
I'm not gonna lie, because you'll see this in the picture. We have built our garden beds up to like, if you're bending down, it's like chest high.
Yeah.
Because I've said the same thing. I'm like, I'm way too old to bend over like this, like long term. But I honestly, the first year that I did a garden, I did it on my own, and I'm just like, whatever. And it super flourished or whatever.
Of course.
Right. And
you're just like, I must have a green thumb.
Right. So, but then the next year, Dan really started to get involved, and I was just like, whatever, you don't need to do all this stuff. But I mean, he like really has researched it out and learned stuff. And then now, because we have that all set up, like I've checked out books about I keep mentioning worms, but we recently like read 5 or 6 books about worms. And
so do you like buy worms?
No, not,
they just naturally
appear. Our yard is naturally full of them somehow. I don't know. But just to learn like some of the stuff about worms that we did and see Joe applying that to his life, it's like, I don't know. I really like it. Like you said, it's life skills.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't think you need to know what you do about worms, but when you read about it, you're like, holy cow, they do a lot of work.
Right? Yeah, I don't know. Like Mike grew up with like a half or a quarter acre of a garden his whole entire life.
Mm-hmm.
So him and his siblings had like sections of the garden that were theirs and they had to manage it or whatever. So like when the boys go over there, they have like their own tomato plants. And by there, I mean their
Aw.
grandparents' house. They have their own tomato plants that they have to water and take care of and whatever. Which is why I think that when like the mulberry tree or bush or whatever we're calling it grows and they get to pick it, John gets so excited. And then they have chives that they're growing and John gets so excited. Because like that was such an integral part of Mike's childhood.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just I don't know that he would love having to like go out there and till the soil and weed the garden and like I think I'm a little bit scarred because I remember when we lived at one of our houses, my dad went out to like I think it's till like to like
Yep.
mix around the dirt or whatever, and he like accidentally like underneath the garden was like a hole with like baby rabbits.
Yes.
So that's my gardening memory. I also got stung by a bee at that same garden. So like gardening is just not.
It's for somebody else.
Yeah.
Right?
No, thank you.
Right. I will say that's why we do garden beds is because I would not be able to do like the whole tilling thing every year and all that bending over.
Yeah.
That's not for me.
Well, my thing is like I mean, old or not old, I don't want to bend over.
Right.
Like, I mean, we can say it's because you're old, but really,
Right.
like, I just don't want to.
But
Like,
that's too much work, right?
Too much work. I don't want to get up and down and bend over. No.
Yep. I agree.
No, thank you. Well, that's a good recommendation. I really like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not going to do it, but,
right.
but the rest of you might.
Thank you for joining us for the Messy Bun Mamas podcast. If you can't wait to talk to us more, then hit us up on social media. We are on Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube at Messy Bun Mamas Podcast.
You can also reach out to us on our website at www.messybunmamaspodcast.com or email us at messybunmamaspodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for joining us. Have a great week.
I am Messy Palmheads.
This is Messy Bun Mama's podcast.
This is Messy Poop.
Messy buns, you silly.